Beautiful. All right. What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome back to the MentorFX Private Mentorship. This is webinar 164, and it's a pleasure to have everybody on board. Thank you all for those that are able to be here today or to watch it in the future at some point. Let's go through some of the stuff really quick just to say good morning to everybody. What's up, Roberto? Javier, Zesh. What up, guys? What up, Black? Good to see you. Dan, always a pleasure to see you. Eddie, Akash, what's up, guys? Happy Sunday to everybody. First live Webby, what's up, Akash? So, as you know, I try to find a way to shorten these every time. Not the webinars, but the introductions. But very simply, if you're brand new, welcome to the team. You found your way into You've made the right choice, to put it simply. And you're going to learn a lot over your time here, okay? Everything that's shared today, that's shared in the videos, that's shared in the course material and whatnot, is of course based on my personal opinion, my personal perspective. But we continue to see time and time again how the things that people are learning are being transitioned into the real world, are transitioned into funded accounts, into payouts, into becoming an expert in the skill, to put it simply, and doing very well for themselves. And that's an amazing thing to see. I mean, I see it week after week. And I mean, we saw some aspects of it this week. As I'm sure you guys know, I think I personally saw Rose talk a little bit about her month. You know, she's been doing very, very well. And, you know, it's just awesome to see it. So congratulations to you and to anyone else that is continuing to get better and better. Now today, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of some of the success that she's seen in regards to some of the market environments that we're in right now, right? Depending on the timeframes you're on. As you know, one of the biggest focuses so far, especially in the portal, has been, yeah, you guys can see I'm about to release some other stuff in the portal, but one of the things we left off on last week was the discussion of the advantages and disadvantages of going higher or lower in terms of entering and in terms of your timeframes, right? Because the lower you go, the more kind of hands-on you become, and the more emotions actually affect you to the point where you need to be, you know, very, very ahead of yourself. You need to have everything kind of worked out. The higher you go, it's kind of, you know, it still requires the same emotional acuity. Over time, if you don't have it worked out, you're still going to fail, right? So emotionally, you're always going to have to actually get the skill down before you just start randomly executing it. But you have time to think. You have time to take responsibility for the things you're doing. You have time to make mistakes. If you make mistakes, you have time to dig yourself out of potential mistakes if you make them. Right, so there are advantages and disadvantages of being lower or higher, of course. And something that I kind of maybe didn't talk about enough here, but it is true, is relativity in terms of trend changing. So what I mean by this, okay, what I mean by relativity in terms of trend changing, you know, slash just getting involved in a direction different to the direction you had been getting involved with. Okay, that might have sounded like a word salad, but very simply, right, the ability to switch directions on one asset is something that becomes kind of huge when it comes to a lower time frame, right? I kind of saw a lot of it in the last 2 to 3 weeks on primarily things like NQ, so futures, or US 100, NAS 100. And as you guys all know, for the most part, right, we don't think in assets, we've always thought in context, right? So if the context or the market price action is good, we want to trade that asset. Whether that asset is Bitcoin, whether that asset is UJ, whether that asset is cocoa beans, whether that asset is a company, or it's like MSI or something like that. Sorry, logged out of my computer for a second there. It doesn't matter what the asset actually is, right? The reality is we trade the context. Now, it just so happens that over the last few months, a lot of people have found their way into trading futures assets, right? Primarily, and the main like most liquid and largest one for the most part is NQ. So, as a result, and as we all know, I'm going to switch to a daily. I'm going to switch to a one-eyed view to make this a lot easier to see. There we are. So, as a lot of us know, the initial points at which we became extremely bullish on a longer term front of NQ happened around here. I mention this every time because, well, I mean, I think it's important. So I think it was around this break right here. So if I actually make this a little bit darker, for those of you that might be a little bit new. So very simply, when this break right here occurred, and the veracity or the strength within which we pushed into these moments here that basically proved that, hey, you know, bullish orders are behind this thing. That's kind of all that had proven at the time. Plus, if we actually go back here, and actually I'll show you guys this right now. So some of you might not know this. I didn't know this. Now I know this. If you are in a two chart view, just like this. Let me actually make this one the 65. Okay, cool. If you are in a 2 chart view and you simply go back to, let's say, that area you were bullish, or we became bullish, which was right around here, and you just click back, you can now, using the METFX indicator or whatever, actually understand where you were or what the general context was at the time of you looking at that market, right? So when I look at this, a lot of you should be able to look kind of at the bottom and spot something that's, I would say, very important, right? So under EVC, which is our time frame template, which simply means that entry, once you've picked one, you multiply by 6 for the most part to get a V, and then you multiply that by 10 to get a C, okay? So this is generally our EVC template. In front of you, what you see right now is the V for me, which is the daily, and the E, which is the 60-minute, 65-minute chart. Okay, now when I go over to this, do you see anything particular about, you know, the time at which we had become bullish on this market, between the E and the V at least? So this is just around when the entire team kind of started looking for bullishness, started expecting bullishness. We started looking at it as a team, discussing the fact that NASDAQ would likely be bullish into the coming weeks, maybe months, maybe years, depending on how the context delivered. What is true at the time of this going bullish between 65-minute and the daily? So John, somewhat, yeah, you had of course you had the daily momentum, which kind of started right. It kind of proved itself here already. I would say this was great proof, but I'm talking about something, let's say, screener related, just based on the things you see on my chart though. Zoom user says alignment. I think you got the answer right. Yep. Yeah, beautiful. Accumulation, reaccumulation, reaccumulation, reaccumulation. Yep. The screener for the general EVC that I'm using, in this case that's showing just the E and the V, right? The E and the V, is showing overall reaccumulation on the daily and accumulation on the 65-minute. Now, without looking at the, let's say, the price action itself, without looking at any of the price action or asking ourselves, hey, is it a clear up move? Hey, is it in a nice stage 1? Hey, is it in a nice potential entry? If we're not thinking about that, is the fact that we have accumulation or green followed by accumulation green across the E and the V enough to basically take a look at the price action? So if I simply showed you a market that looked like this, with nothing else, don't ignore even the indicators, okay? So if I simply showed you a market like this, done. And all we saw, well, now we can't see it, but all we saw is the green guy here and the green guy here. Does that mean it's a market that we should now take a look at for potential bullishness? Not for entries, but for potential bullishness. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's an easy one, right? Because that is context. John, yes, that's context. If you're talking about the context time frame, yes, but the E and the V are the ones that you're kind of entering on. The C is a proof of those. So the E and the V are lining up. That's all I'm looking at right now. Sure, we can look at the thing too. I don't remember what it was. Okay, so on the context time frame, which would be the weekly for me, it's also in green. But this matters a lot less. Nonetheless, it was green, okay? But it matters less, so not we chillin', because either way, it would have been green for me. Nonetheless, okay, it doesn't matter. Both are green, okay? So at that point, without any price action, we're all in agreement that this is a message to step lower, to see, or not to step lower, to step into the actual price action itself, to see if the price action meets the qualification of, let's say, overall accumulation, correct? Right, so that's what leads us to then starting to look for the things that we tend to look at, right? Which is overall, and for people that have been here a while from the portal-based material, you all understand that, the anticipation of the higher-low rule is a reaccumulation, right? It's a flush-out reaccumulation, for the most part. That's what they are, right? The occurrence of this happening over a longer period of time, kind of like this, right, is a blueprint. It's a blueprint for accumulation. That's it, right? It's just an accumulation. So that's actually what's happening when we're looking for those kind of rules, right? And oftentimes we start looking for them when these things begin to align. And then we go into the price and we start doing the things that you have kind of already done before. Let me delete some of this stuff out of the way. All right, so that's when you actually start looking at the price action. Now, what is primarily true, actually, before I do that, now from there, it was for a higher base time frame individual, especially since price was on the bullish side in regards to being above the MAs, moving above the MAs, existing in stage 1s and stage 2s, stage 1s and stage 2s above the MAs, with the expectancy that we're going to continue going through stage 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and overall continue doing that. It lended itself to a market that was very, very clean and very easy to follow on a higher, which was very bullish, which means that almost any follow of it on a lower time frame, where you might have been locked into, let's say, just the bullish side, would still have rewarded you in a very big way. And over the last, oh, we can't do that. Okay, that's fine. Cool. And over the last few months, okay, this has remained very true. Okay, if we just play it forward from that point, this has remained very true. So for the most part, you had those bottom things retain their overall greenness. You had the reaccumulation and accumulation overall retain itself, which is also, as a lot of you should know, where the screener fetches and gathers its actual data from. So the screener itself, which it doesn't have stocks at the moment now because we are having to do a little sweep upgrade, which is exactly where kind of these models come from, right? So that is why when we on average see overall lineup, right, it becomes a lot easier, especially as you move lower, because if everything's lined up, it's likely going to retain that potential move over the next few months or years or weeks or months. So following them on a lower time frame becomes a lot easier for an entry time frame because, well, you have the overall pressure of the market on top of you, right? So it remained very good for a very long time. And that became true for lower time frames as well. And during this time, we saw something very, very clear. And something that I've spoken about as a concept a lot of times over and over again. And that is that close to anybody that got involved in the trading space or found out about the future space and started trading these things, for the most part, not guaranteed because that's not how money works, but for the most part, what happened to their trading equity curves, to their funding accounts, to their potential monetary reward, their monetary gain, especially if they were someone that had somewhat, even a little bit of a good pattern to trade on a lower time frame. Yep, the easy answer is they made money. That's it. They made a lot of money. Now, during this time, there were times where they started losing money. A lot of you can see those times by just looking at the action. Some of those times might include what you saw in here, maybe the chop, right, potentially. Might include what you saw here, where price began to roll over and potentially become bearish, right? So that means that for the few weeks that this occurred right here, where price went on a 20-day binger to the lower side, it's very likely that a lot of traders that are kind of new, that were introduced to futures, that started trading futures, lost a lot of money, maybe even blew accounts, maybe gave away some of their payouts during this time here. Very likely. I see this over and over and over again, right? Because they continued to force the same things that they were doing before. They continued to hope that the patterns that they were using would continue to work well. And all of a sudden, they didn't work as well, and they took a lot more losses because they came out of nowhere. And then they might have made some more money and made a lot of money. This was an insane rip higher. This is recent, right? This has been since around May into July. And now we're into August. And within the last July, August, so within the last month and a half, 2 months, we've had kind of the opposite happen, where once again, we had one of these repeat on now an even bigger scale. And once again, what we've seen, even in this team, even within the community, is people losing a lot of money and wondering what they're doing wrong or if they can start getting bearish or what they should be doing. Now, this is where EVCs of a higher or lower truly come in. Because at this point, you start to realize, right here, you start to realize, and potentially, and hopefully, by the way, hopefully, this happens, right? Because I would love for this to happen. If this can happen, I will be so happy, because this will reset the entire space in terms of just being good for new moves and putting in like amazing setups. Nonetheless, during this time right here, during this thing right here, a lot of people have started to experience the same thing. Okay, for the last maybe 22 days or more, people are confused, losing money. And one of the reasons that I believe this is, including for people in the community, is there is a misconception around EVC. There's a misunderstanding of their EVC once again. And what I mean by this is, a lot of you know that for my personal EVC, I'm following a higher time frame at the moment. I do some lower time frame here and there, but for the most part right now, it's higher time frame based. And times like these call for literally, if I'm just trading NQ as a pair, just so a lot of you understand, the only times I'm trading this thing, right, are in this stage 1 for an entry, in maybe this stage 1 right here for an entry, maybe because it's coming out of that stage 1 in this stage 1 for an entry, then likely here or across this entire thing. I don't really care how you look at it. Again, I'm just looking at these as mini pauses, stage 1s, stage 1, stage 1. And then I'm watching and keeping an eye on it here, but it never comes to anything, right? It just fails down and there's nothing here and then it fails down. So for everything that I've been bullish on, these have been the only times I've watched for entries on the NQs or the future NQs or stocks associated. So basically any stocks that have been showing overall bullishness. These are the times where I watched for it. And if you pay attention, the times that I look for entries, and you really pay attention to the times I look for entries, really come down to about 4 plus 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 maybe. At the highest end, I've spent, Anton, Mentafex, whatever, 14 days having actual opportunities, right, in a good market condition. Okay, so these were the times where I would be looking for my personal entries. I would be looking at maybe a few other stocks if they had good setups and good entries, so maybe there's a little bit more. But if NQ was the only existing market in the world, even though that's not the case and it's a theoretical, but if it was, and I was trading a 60-minute chart as my entry time frame and a daily as my validation, the only times I'm actually trading this thing, bullish or whatever, are here, 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 and that's it. And that was over the span of when I got bullish on this from this original MB break, or this move higher right here, this clear move higher. So that's been for about, actually with everything taken into account, about 91 days. So out of 3 months, just so you guys understand, out of 3 months, 90 days, about 10 of them, basically 15% of the days were days that were worth actually showing up for, looking at, and then actually trading that market. Okay, so that lended itself to, 1, the understanding of huge patience. But 2, this lends even further into why I'm seeing a lot of people fail right now on lower timeframes. This is why it lends to that. And it comes back to, and this is one of the reasons that I chose to kind of drop this at the time that I did, the advantages, disadvantages. It came at a perfect time for this right here. Oh yeah, this was in trading days, so this is actually even longer, right? Oh no, it's not trading days, because this has Sundays? Oh no, it doesn't. Yeah, you're right. Yep. So this is not even trading days. So this is probably in around 120 days. So yeah, in about 4 months, you're right. So in about 4 months, only 10 days basically were spent doing something on the chart, which is less than 10% of days were spent actually trading this market if this was a market I was just trading. Now, at a very good time, I dropped this because now we can talk about specifically what this means for a lower time frame trader. Now, what is true for a normal, let's say 1 minute or 5 minute trader that's following my every word, hanging on my every word, going, oh, he said it's bullish, everything's bullish, I want to follow it bullish. What's happening for them during this time here? Right here. I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee. Yep. John got it first, and then a lot of people did as well. They made money. Regardless of what they did, regardless of almost how they traded, for the most part, if you're on those 5 and 1 minutes during, where are we? During that beautiful, beautiful time here, it is close to impossible not to make money if you think about your equity curves, right? I've spoken about this a few times. Maybe I'll just do a 15-minute just to see more action, just to make it really easy. Right, if you think about your equity curves the same way that I've kind of discussed mine, I tried to add a few more things to this one. So I went over some of my trades and just went in and added them. You know, it's been a wild month, right? So a wild few months. And I've had, you know, these were off of that insane lower time frame trade. Like, mostly everything's been stale except for those 2 very crazy lower time frame trades I got that I spoke about a little bit last week. But like I've spoken about it before, if we simply buy stopped, right, a bullish market, which all of your equity curves when you're a profitable trader should be, if you buy stop any MB generally in a very clean bullish market, which is what your equity curves are, you're for the most part making money, right? So similarly, when I was saying, hey, everything's bullish, the markets are great, everything's moving up, like everything's just super easy, and this was that market condition, almost any high that you buy stop for the most part, ends up making you, no matter how you want to swing it, 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 for the most part, if you have a few things worked out in your system and you're not a complete, let's say, buffoon, and you're not just completely emotionally doing things dumb, and you're not completely just out of your mind doing things for no reason, and you're following some generally simple patterns or rules, are you going to make money during this kind of market? And I'm not talking about someone that's just completely random that's like, oh, I'm going to buy everything. I'm talking about someone that has even spent, let's say, a year, 2 years in the trading space and understands, hey, you know, I need to be a little bit smarter about what I do. Yes, you made money. You made money, of course. Now, this is what leads into the issue, right? The easy money came, again, because of the context you were in and not because you traded NQ. And a lot of people are now experiencing and learning that. Okay, so a lot of the easy money, let's say, that came during this time was because, hey, you didn't just have the alignment, let's say, of an EVC on a lower time frame, even if though you could have, and you could have traded it, you had an EVC alignment across the entire board, theoretically, across the entire board. If your EVC was a 1 minute trade, or let's say a 5 minute entry, then you're looking at a 5 minute, 30 minute, 5 hour. Okay, so across the full board, you pretty much have overall alignment for bullishness. Pretty much. Like, unquestionably. Now, the second this starts to occur right here, I'm still sitting there in the same mind space and mindset as when you saw this, and this, and this, and this, which is, I'm going to wait for a stage 1, I'm going to wait for this to become a stage 1, or this to become a stage 1, and then to trade it. As a higher time frame trader, that's allowed. It's permissible. I'm allowed to be patient for my entry and wait for it to do that. As a lower time frame trader that has an EVC that is lower time frame oriented, You cannot look to me or to someone else that is trading along these lines and go, well, he's waiting for bullishness, which means I should wait for bullishness. So what that means is if my 1 minute or my 5 minute become bullish, I should be trading it. So all of a sudden what you get is you have a pile-in on some level of people that start doing what? That start going bullish in all of this, 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 and maybe they start getting it right, and then on all of this, and now we're down here. Because all of a sudden, they're trying to marry the EVC of Anton's system, of Dan's system, of Rose's system, of anyone else's system. Yes, exactly, Kevin. But Ment said it was bullish. And they're trying to now prepare for their entry, even though their entry is playing a very, very different system right now, right? It's a very different time. So if we go back to even this week, so here's Wednesday. If I go like this, and I go like this, and I go like this, and I put myself on, let's say, a 30-minute here as my validation time frame, and I go and find that moment right here. Let me move this thing out of my way. And I go and find this moment right here. Going back to the first point I made on my system when we first originally got bullish on NQ, what do you see as consistent between the E and the V in this moment? This is this week, on this Wednesday, during this time right here. What do you see from an EV perspective without C at the moment? Yeah. There's distribution. There's bearish alignment on both. That is your E and your V. That is your message to watch for shorts with nothing else. With nothing else, with no patterns, no price action, that's your message to, hey, maybe take a look at my price action. And you take a look at the price action, you start to realize the same things. These are stage 1s and 2s to the downside. And you have to be there to trade them. You have to be there to be aligned with the actual direction of the underlying market. And as a result, that underlying market delivers. So when you see me say something in the chats or in the trade talks, and you see me maybe make say something about someone doing very well, and I say, yeah, the lower time frames or the bearish moves were so beautiful, you might see or feel the following feeling. You might go, what the fuck? He said bearish was beautiful, but he hasn't done anything. And he's been saying it's bullish, and he's been saying he's waiting for bullish. What the fuck? And I've been taking losses trying to be bullish. You are conflating your EVC with my EVC, with someone else's EVC, for no reason. If you succeed mostly in an environment that looks like this, let me ask you all a very important question. Is this environment, from even this candle right here, from that candle itself, this one, the same environment as what we saw in this environment here? Is 1 the same as environment 2? They're stark differences. So then the main question becomes, if you're a lower time frame trader, and this is where you make money, let's say you were bullish and you made money on the bullish side, what is making you bullish now? What is it? Is it the fact that you've made money for the last year and a half, almost 2 years? Is it the fact that you, for the last 2 years, made basically free money? It probably is. So again, you're letting emotions decide what you do. And you're letting the fact that you've shown up every day for the most part and would have been able to get positioned ram right into the fucking wall of the fact that price is now bearish. Is gold an example of exactly this the past 2 weeks? It was until recently. Yep. Gold was a similar example recently, but not even as bad as NQ in any way, because this thing is beautiful. This thing sailed higher. This thing moved higher with the MAs. This thing accumulated. This thing then began to take off and gave you opportunity. Yes, if you were starting to look for bullishness like down here, same problem. If you were a 1 minute or lower time frame trader looking for bull signs in here, it's dumb. If you started looking for bullish signs in here, good. If you started watching this for bulls, good. If you saw this and walked away, good. If you started trading long again here, you're making the same mistake that you likely made right here. Right, and then all of a sudden, so this improper understanding of your own EVC, or this potential reliance, by the way, and again, I need you to all remember that you're not here to rely on me or anyone else, right? That's not what you're here to do. You're here to learn from everybody. You're here to get better and better and better, but you're not here to rely on any one person, which is very, very, very important, okay? So you can't look at this and be like, since Ment is still waiting for bullish, that means I should be trading these things bullish. Because this is a completely different market condition, entirely different market condition overall to, you know, what has been happening. Let's put it that way. So what you've seen over the last few, however long it's been, over the last, 40 days or so, is you've seen a lot of people that did make money lose it if they weren't able to either so there's two things they could have done. As a lower time frame trader, there's two things that everyone could have done. Okay, here it goes. A is wait for overall alignment, so no trades at all in this time here, or B, have the ability to change based on the lower time frame EVC. So that means if you're a 1 minute, as the 6 minute and 1 minute pretty much agree, you know, maybe even the 15 minute, maybe you can go a little bit higher if you want, but you know, 1 minute, 6 minute, once this agrees, you need to be able to have the ability to change. Kuzaifa, this was not a right or wrong. Both are correct. If you were a lower time frame trader and you made a lot of money here, you need to understand why you made a lot of money here. And it was because of the overall EVC plus the actual alignment of the other timeframes too. In this case, it was overall alignment. If you can't make good money in markets where there's not overall alignment, you need to be able to step back, right? Because this became a very different market condition. Basically, you need to have the ability to change based on your EVC if you're a lower time trader. You need to be able to do that with you need to be fast. You cannot consider your emotions. You cannot let time be there and be like, maybe I don't want to change. Maybe I want to wait a little bit and see what it does. And maybe no, you either change. 2 crash off and go straight to 3. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that happens lower time frame. So this is the problem I've seen over the last week. And I thought it'd be something to really kind of kickstart this webinar because this happens month after month, year after year. Markets go through changes. Money moves cyclically. The people that made money here lost a lot, if not more of their money here. The people that made money here lost most, if not all of it, here. The people that made money here lost most, if not all of it, and more here. Okay? This is true for all the Instagrammers we see, for all the YouTube people, etc. Because it's the same story over and over and over again. It has never changed. This is how money moves. And if we're not able to make that shift or that change based on the EVC we're following, then you're going to be screwed, right? And I really want you to kind of think and hear me when I say this right here for my personal system. When you see me type something in my Mentifex trade ideas, when I do type in there, and I write something like, hey guys, just waiting for this, it doesn't mean I'm entering it. It means I'm waiting for it. And waiting for it can mean, even in a good market that I spend 14 days, 10% of the time, actually trading. And now, even though I said all that, I still make mistakes. Let me show you. You know, the market's bad right now. And I still, regardless of the market being bad, traded this thing. Right? There's a little bit of stupidity on my part, especially into basically red news, which was extremely dumb. I got very lucky to break even on this thing. But yeah. You know, and I mean, this was not a market to trade. I just saw insane strength. I'm going to show you guys, just to be honest with all of you, because I do the same mistakes. I saw the stage one. This stage one was holding up beautifully. It had so much power, while everything, as you guys know, is dying. But the reality is, when everything's dying, regardless of how good a market looks, you know, unless this is proving some kind of bullishness, that market's going to fail. And for the most part, that's kind of what happened. The overall condition of the market failed into all my setups, right? Almost instantly. And I took a loss and a break even. So that's just a little bit of, you know, I'm not perfect as well. I understand the things that I should be doing. I understand my rules. I do make mistakes. But this was something that I think is extremely important, which is that when you start to see this and you really zoom out, you know, the question becomes, what were you doing if you were someone that was just buying this thing over and over and over again over the last few weeks? Okay, now I'm going to scroll up a bit and go over some stuff, of course, because very important to do that. But that was the start. And actually, while we're on it, the warning I have made over and over again, talk more on the potential transition of price. So two things, yeah. So you can see it here. Kind of J-Rose asked about it, but she said, hey guys, I wanted to share something that I noticed from the last 2 weeks. And this is exactly what I've noticed as well, somewhat. And I've seen this mistake. And I've seen this mistake not just over the last 2 weeks. I've seen this mistake be made for, you know, in cycles. The same way that you see the cycles that we talk about in price, you see the same things in cycles of people succeeding and then failing. Basically, she said, NAS transitioned from bullish to bearish. Yep, it did, for the most part. You know, I'm still waiting, right? Don't get me wrong, right? Like, I don't care what this does now. This thing is as bearish as can be, right? This thing is on the downside. It's surfing lower averages. It's moving lower. This thing is going to be hopefully at, you know, 17,600 in the next, I don't know, week. You know, hopefully in the next 2 weeks, it just flushes, pauses, comes up, chops, builds something, becomes clear, drops, falls off, goes crazy, and then fucks off for a while, and then starts new bullishness later, right? This would be a phenomenal market. This would make me happy, but this is what's likely to happen, and I know that, which means that for the most part, if I'm looking at the bullish side, there's nothing for me to touch, and if there's something on the bearish side, then sure, I'll take a look, right? But yes, it did. And she said, I noticed many of us, even some of the top traders, I didn't really notice that from some of the top, but okay, sure. Traders that were funded and doing well. Yeah, which can happen, exactly. So people that were funded and made money. Okay, yes. Accounts were blown. Money was lost. The minds and the emotions are starting to get thrown all over the place. Just a handful of it. It was several of us. I just wanted to share on this because this just shows me that there has to be something we need to do or think about when the market makes these changes. We have to either stay out, 1, or get good at transitioning, 2. Okay, I swear I did not pre-read this. I remember she said something last week, and I remember it was good. But it's interesting that this goes exactly with the A and B I proposed to you. You need to either be able to be patient and wait for the next condition that you make money in, or you need to be able to transition your EVC in relation to what's happening in the market. So very well said. At Effects, I don't know if you can add to this, but what I'm seeing is the market changed, but some of us didn't change along with it. And that issue stems from the things I just discussed. It's a distrust in your own EVC, and it's a reliance on someone else's. That's really where that issue stems from. That's it. It doesn't have to be more complex than that. You've seen for the last year and a half, for the last 2 years, a market that has been unbeatable. Every down move has been led with New all-time highs, beautiful moves, beautiful setups, continuations, overall green, screener green, and you almost forget to now look at it. You forget to check the screener and ask yourself, hey, is this thing actually green? Is this thing actually maybe moving green? Is it still going well? You start to get very attached to the FOMO of, it's gonna be at all-time new highs. It's gonna be at all-time new highs. I gotta get in. And you forget to follow an actual system. So inevitably, as I discussed for the last, for the last, 6 months? I think I started talking about it here. I said inevitably, this market will go into a natural correction. It will naturally go into longer term distribution or chop. And people will lose money, and you need to be ready for that. It's finally happening. And hopefully it happens for a longer period of time. Because the more money that gets flushed out, the cleaner the future trends will be, right? That's always how you have to understand trends. Yes, how you have to understand what formulates trends. The longer term a market fucks off, does random shit, plays like crap, goes sideways, the better the moves will become. The longer this thing goes sideways, makes moves down, makes moves in opposite to what it was doing, the better the future trends and future stage twos will be. This is how money operates. If you're someone that doesn't understand that money operates this way, and you're a pattern-based trader that thinks they can just throw on the pattern and hope it trades and makes money for them, you become the person that makes money here, loses money here. Makes a lot of money here, loses all your money here. Makes a lot of money here, loses all your money here. Or more, usually more, because with declines come more trades, and more trades come with more losses, and more losses mean you get back in, and getting back in means you do it more times, and you lose all your capital, right? So hopefully this is what we get. That's where that comes from. That's where this concept comes from. It's stage 1 to 2. Sometimes it's longer term. And you need to be able to identify that. And right now we are in clear stage 1s and 2s, to a particular side of the market. And we are heading lower. And that's all we're doing right now. And the market's gonna keep doing that until it's ready, or until it goes wild, and until it trends heavily. I wanna see this happen here on this side. That's it. It doesn't affect me. I don't lose money seeing it. I just know it creates the opportunity for future money to be gained. And again, I have rules in place to be patient. A lot of people don't. So when this transition happens, inevitably, as we discussed many times in the webinars before, which is why, by the way, if you're brand new, this might be a crazy talk and you might be confused right now, but that's okay. You will see it as you start to work through some of the prior webinars. You're gonna see me talk about exactly that, about the fact that there is a lot of emotions and hype on futures, on NQ specifically, and that a lot of people will lose money if you're not careful, if you're not aware of what's happening in the market. I think a little lesson or elaboration on this as a team might help shed some light. So yeah, this is where I wanted to shed some light on it, right? Because this is exactly what we see happen over and over and over again. To show you some examples of my own trading, let me show you Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin's something that I've been watching, as you guys know, specifically through GBTC, the lens of GBTC, but I can do it on Bitcoin USD as well. I'll do that in a second. And funny enough, I was actually doing a version of a back test of it yesterday. So I want to show you something that you can do in your own trading right now that can improve hugely, that can hugely improve the way that you approach markets or approach a given week on any asset. And this can help a lot of you that are maybe just starting out or getting really good at trading. Here it goes. What you can do, okay, is you can simply step back in price a little bit with a replay mode. Doesn't have to be far, just step back in price, okay? So what I did is I stepped back in price to where I first traded it back here, and then I went from there. But I'm just gonna step back a little bit further because I don't wanna go through all that action right now. And I wanna show you it from here. So yesterday I did this exercise for myself. Not because I needed it, but because I thought it'd be very important to show some of you it, and because it orients your mind. So Bitcoin, this is basically Bitcoin. I can show you this on the actual Bitcoin chart in a second, but I traded through the GBTC ETF, so that's why I'm showing it here. I initially traded this thing here. This is where I traded it, okay? I made one of my best trades all year so far this year on that trade. That's this trade right here, this guy. I'm going to show you the trade. Here it is. It was literally my biggest trade of the year so far. About 26, 27 RR gained on that. Nothing else has come close, right? So just to really explain this, about, you know, almost a sixth, a seventh, an eighth of my gain have been off of one trade. Has been off of one trade. Right, and I traded this thing higher, and this thing was beautiful. This thing just took off, and it was just an easy roll. Okay. And I've been keeping an eye on it, because it's been overall clean. Now, there's been nothing for me to do on it for a while, and then, right, so this is why it's so nice to have this tool now, because you can actually do it side by side. You can see we moved into accumulation. You can see at this time, all I see in price is that we went into a stage 1, and I need a stage 2 to potentially trade this thing. That's all I was waiting for, right? Because I want to see lineup. So I waited. I waited for some kind of stage 1 to start. A stage 1 kind of begins. This starts to flush out here. And honestly, there may be even a reason, like you could make an argument to start MB buying some of these points here. Now, those are harder to do, but nonetheless, it's fine. So I waited. Yep, all good, plays around. Starts coming up, comes down, right? Just plays around, starts building. You can see kind of this stage 1, longer term stage 1. Finally, this is actually where I expected, if you guys remember in the webinars, this is where I expected price to make a new move to all-time highs to whatever this was, like 70K, 90K on the actual Bitcoin asset. But this is the move I was expecting. I was happy with it, more than happy. And before I move further, what do you think happened to most traders that were lower time frame traders relying on, let's say, my analysis, getting bullish inside of all this action here? What was generally happening for them? They were winning, right? But again, the second that the context for what I'm doing becomes patience-based, what happens to their accounts as they continue to follow the same setups, the same hope, the same patterns? Yep, they lose it. The exact same thing we saw on NQ. Nonetheless, I see this as a nice MB setup, kind of one of the side ones will be taught in the portal. And this is an entry that I see. So when I was doing the back test yesterday, this is something I saw and I said, okay, this would be a great entry. This is an entry I would take, 0.69, so something like this. Okay, probably something like this. This is an entry I would happily take. And I think I actually traded this thing, either here or here. I don't remember exactly where, but I traded something along these lines. Okay, and just looking at it, this was a very nice setup for me. Before I move further, does everyone understand, just looking at these side by side, the fact that the validation time frame is in bullishness, the entry time frame is in bullishness, the validation time frame started to move higher in a stage 1, in a stage 2, started to stage 1 above the rising averages, started going sideways, and I looked to take an entry. Does this make sense to you in regards to just general application of our trading rules? And again, if you want to take it further, anticipation of the higher low rule is kind of met here. That's basically what reaccumulation is. That is what the indicator has always calculated, right? That's what it's doing. It's literally using a rule of the anticipation. But again, it's something that happens, and it's always going to exist almost in any good move for the most part. Like, it's just going to be there. Why not earlier? No, so earlier, yes, I actually traded it personally here, I believe. This is where I traded it. I actually traded this asset here, I believe. And anyone here can confirm it. I think you guys might remember this. I traded it here, took a partial into this strength, and then got stopped out later because I think it came down. This was my move. This is the move I was in, right here. I was looking for another version of this right here, okay? Nonetheless, after doing a back test of it, okay, this is the back test I was doing, this is where I got to. So everything so far is very clear. Does everyone understand how right now, my clarity, my rules lead to a belief that this is going to keep going to all-time highs, as in like the trade that I want to take, right? Okay, so price starts going. This is an easy break even, right? So I'm literally doing this live yesterday for myself. I'm in a backtest tool. I go, okay, I move my stop loss to break even. Cool. You know, and now I expect all-time highs. So I wait. Maybe there's partials here, maybe not, whatever it is. And then it fails down. Okay, great. Break even. Cool. So that leads me back to paying attention to where I am here, which is, okay, we're still building potential like kind of higher lows. We're surfing this thing higher, and we're maybe putting in a range here. Maybe there will be another setup up here. Maybe somewhere up here, right? We'll see if something starts happening. Does anything happen? Do I get a setup? Does price create an MB or a move or anything from there? Does price go higher, flush out, and then start making a move higher? No, it fails down. Okay. So what if I'm a 60-minute trader? What does this lead to? What conclusion does this lead to at the moment on this price? Yeah, you're right. Lath got it on the dot, right? There was no touching it. Nothing to do. Now, at the time that a lot of you know, and as this is happening, what am I still saying in webinars? What am I still saying in the MetaFX Trade Ideas about my system? What am I saying at this point even? I'm not saying no touch. What do I specifically say over this action? Yeah, I say, I'm waiting for what? For bullishness, right? I'm waiting for longs to come in. Exactly. I'm waiting for money to come in. Hopefully money comes in, becomes clear. Maybe the setup becomes cleaner, right? Stage one continues. Maybe it builds a longer stage one. And then there's a setup. That's all I'm saying. So what happens to the natural EVC follower of a lower time frame as I'm saying things like that? What are they doing in these moments here? They're continuing to stay oriented to one side of the market, hoping that that is what the market wants to do, right? Then price fails down. Okay, so that's the initial problem of lower time frame. But then I continue. This is why I'm telling you about this exercise. This exercise is really good. So it comes down again, which is okay. This becomes a waiting game for me. Maybe you can make an argument for watching for something out of this coming out, right? Because price can easily, potentially, come up over this, right? Within the reaccumulation, this could be anticipation of the higher low rule, flush out, and maybe create a setup up here. Great. So what am I still? If I draw this, and this is my expectation, what am I still at this point? I am waiting, but what am I also? I'm overall bullish. Does that mean I'm taking trades? Does it mean I'm taking entries? Does it mean I'm taking losses or break evens? No, it means none of it. It means I'm literally waiting. But people will take that, or a lot of traders will take that, especially if they're brand new, and go, he's fucking bullish. This guy's bullish. Let me look for a little bullish trade on a 1 minute. And then they get screwed over, right? So I waited. Price failed lower. There's nothing for me to do. Done. No accumulation comes in. And look at the daily here. It's failing down. The MAs, the 10 and the 20 start sloping down. What do you think I expect this out of this market now? I expect it to go lower. I expect it to die and fall off. Okay, so I wait. Okay. Okay, as it should. Now, maybe accumulation comes in. So I'll wait because I want to see accumulation. I'm still waiting. Hey, look at that. It surfs lower and it breaks lower. This is a beautiful market for bearish traders. Even though I'm still sitting here waiting for my opportunity. And if anything, you could have become bearish here too. Let me see, what was the weekly doing? Yep. So if some of you had been bearish during this time, the 10 started sloping down, I would say it's fine. Expecting this to maybe come even lower, perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. Okay? Because even then, if you're bearish on this, well, then you're going to get your entries and then it's going to go or it's not. But then all of a sudden, price randomly gapped up like this. And I said, great, this could be bullish. I'll wait. Then this thing happened. Now, this is not enough for me. This is a very hard kind of market to trade for me. Yes, there's an MB here or here or here. This is hard for me to trade, so I didn't touch it. Right? I told you guys this was a fine trade. I didn't touch it here. That's okay. So I waited. And I waited, and then price began to build up a stage one of some sort. There it is. So what did I send in the trade talks at this time or during the webinars? What did I tell you guys I wanted to see? bullishness. I'm waiting for my longs. Everything's lining up. Okay, there's lineup here. So if this can maybe start to basically move higher, pause, and then give a setup, that should be a setup that maybe goes for an entry. Price moves higher, it just kind of gaps higher, gives no setup, moves higher. Maybe if you entered this, it still would have been a break even, but nothing to do. So I waited because I expected this to now pause. So what was I expecting? Again, look what I'm doing with my backtest. I'm expecting price and I'm coming up to live price. This is why it's so important. Watch this. I'm going to show you all. So I'm expecting this to still maybe flush, maybe a setup here, go sideways, setup. Something like this as a double MB. Let's see. Did that happen in any way of what I wanted to see? No, it gapped back down through whatever stage one was here. What do I expect out of this market now? I expect chop or fall off. Again, the same thing as what happened here. Price moves lower, nothing to do. Hey, and now all of a sudden, I have an analysis for next week. And what's my analysis for next week? That's it. And just like that, nope. And the reason that I can do that now is because I've kind of played through my emotions and my choices that I would be making throughout this action. That's it. And as price fails and doesn't prove itself, I don't sit there going, but this could be a zone, and this could be an MB. It could go. Maybe. It could go. Maybe. Maybe, please, please. I don't, and people do this, by the way, just so you guys know. I'm not making fun of anyone, because I've done this too. But there are people sitting there doing a version of this, or even worse, already in this. Please, I just need this one time. Just come up to the 50. I don't care. Right? And money's going to be lost because there's improper following of rules. There's no approach to trend. There's no approach to anything. It's just randomized. It's Ment said that he wants to see longs on Bitcoin. So because it went down so much, I need to get bullish. Which is the weirdest way to think, but many people think that way and orient themselves in the market that way. And as a result, you're led to the thing that you see over and over and over again, where when the EVC, let's go back to Bitcoin USD, where when the EVC shifts from bullish to bearish or whatever it might be, when it inevitably shifts, people still sit there waiting and trying to get into the opposite side. People are not able to see this for what it is. As price fails, they're not able to say, okay, it's bearish. It's gonna be bearish. Guys, I look at this, I see new stage one, hopefully now, into a drop to like 50K. That's all I see when I look at this now. That's it. There's nothing more to it. Right, maybe up here, maybe 54K, who knows? Maybe then another stage one, into a drop to, and maybe it goes crazy, to 47K. A lot of money will be lost here. And then accumulation will occur. Prices will make maybe a nice move, and all of a sudden, some stage one here, I won't draw it as a triangle for you guys, some stage one, and we're back at all-time highs, right? And that's what I'll wait for. But I'm able to sit there and wait, because I'm aware of what my rules are, and I know that not waiting is not gonna make me money. So when are you taking sells on your EVC? If this thing goes bearish. Right? If this can now, stage one, let's look at the weekly. I'll look at the weekly on this one. So look, the weekly is, still relatively bullish, right? It's now sloped down into the lower moving averages. So this thing wants to go lower at the moment, maybe to the 50, maybe even lower, who knows? The daily is kind of in a distribution, but an overall accumulation. So there's no lineup there. The 65-minute is in distribution. So if you're a lower time frame trader, you already know these should be all your entries on a lower time frame. These might have been really, really nice. But there's no lineup for me to trade this thing right now, right? Like, This thing is maybe going to distribute lower. Maybe it can pause here off of lower moving averages, but that's not happening right now. So I don't have to touch it. John says, can you talk more about shifting your EVC bias? Why is the validation time frame more important than the context time frame? Because if the validation time frame isn't in a stage 1 or tradable move, then there's nothing to check, even if the context time frame is clear. That's why. So now the expectation is simply to let this thing play out as it needs to. If good moves come from it on things like GBTC, which they might, right? This thing might become very nice and bearish, right? But right now, like, there's nothing here that's pointing towards entries yet, right? Nothing here has pointed towards the fact that prices want to go sideways a little bit even, and then continue. I'm just have to wait. I'm not gonna sit here and randomly start trading this shit. But at the same time, when I'm not sitting there and doing anything, a lot of you need to have the ability to look at an action. If you're a 1-minute trader or whatever it might be, 1, identify that you're in a different market context than what you were in, and 2, trade the market if it's clear. And make sure that you're able to make the shift and the transition or the change that is necessary when it's time to make it. Don't be stuck in a pocket of, well, this thing has been bullish for a year and a half, therefore, I'm not gonna trade it, right? It makes no sense. Now, I think there was something else. Yeah, so like I said, right, this is a warning I've made over and over and over again. This comes down to the common issue I've literally made sure to discuss in almost any of the recent 10 webinars. You probably have heard me discuss this like so many times. I spoke about the fact that a lot of people that have been making a lot of money on these NQ stocks, futures, would likely lose it all and more when the market goes into a natural correction or a bearish market. As a lower time frame trader, you have to be more in tune with switching up if necessary, right? That's what a lower time frame needs. As a higher time frame, you have to be aware that moments like these require patience. If you get used to something just working and printing free money, which is what a lot of people got used to, but don't understand the why behind why it was working, the context of NAS in this example, of course, when things naturally correct, become choppy or become bearish, those same trades or traders executing the same patterns will lose money. Dre says, how do trends establish? I will work on more aspects of it in the portal as well, because that's what the next step is. But they establish themselves through accumulations, reaccumulations, stages, and then confirmations of those stages. That's it. Listen, Akash, I've seen you say the same thing like 60 times. I haven't gone around to reading the chat yet, bro. Please stop spamming. Okay, one more question of a copy paste of the same thing, I will have to remove you from the thing, okay? Please relax. Okay. Let me go back up. I try to cover everything that anybody asks. You know that I haven't read the chat yet because I've been speaking directly to all of you. Okay, if you see me start reading the chat and I don't cover what you're asking, then sure, but please stop spamming the same thing. Regarding your question, how do you use the screeners and the MA? Is it discussed in Portal? Not yet, but it will be. But the screeners are very simply, again, just so all of you know, all the webinars themselves contain all the information you'll ever need. The portal is a way for me to try to simplify a lot of that information into something that is quicker and easier to understand. The screener basically takes the rules, the anticipation of the higher low rule that you learn to put you into an accumulation, reaccumulation, distribution, or redistribution. Okay, CMD, how to use a screener. Okay, so he's trolling. I'm gonna kick him because that's just not cool. Okay. Because I don't appreciate that. I know we're joking a little bit here and there, but sometimes it's a little over the line. Nonetheless, screener. Yeah, so the screener is very simply the rule of what you've seen in the portal so far with the anticipation of the higher low rule, accumulation, reaccumulation, and it's simplified into a tool so you can see it all. It's exactly how you get these readings down here. That's where that's all coming from. Akash says, I'm sorry, I was getting panicky when I don't understand what was going on. Yep, that's normal. I assume you're lower, and that's okay to be, it's okay to be new and have like a little bit of misunderstanding. But you will learn over time. That's all that matters. Okay, let me scroll up now and go over some things. That's one of the main things I want to discuss today, though, because we're seeing it happen live, right? So this is live action. This is live action going from something that was clear on one side to being to trending in the opposite direction, right? Hey, hello, happy Sunday. How's everyone doing? What's up, Sarath? Good to see you, man. I hope you're having a good Sunday too. 90% into the members portal. I'm so happy to come here and learn a lot of things. One thing struck to my mind is whenever I was getting confused, Men says, good, you are getting confused as you learn something new. And it made so much sense. Good. XD says, please release the new portal vid before my membership runs out. Listen, man, I'm not holding on to it or not trying to release it for whatever reason. I'm just simply working on making the best version of it, right? If I haven't released it, that just means I haven't recorded the best version of it yet. That's all it means. It does not mean I'm sitting on the file waiting to decide when it should drop, right? I've recorded like this part like at least 6 times now, and every time I've missed something that I wanted to add, so I have to re-add it and I'll re-record it because it's important, because I want to make sure there's a good flow to what's happening, right? So it will be out as it can be, and yeah, that's all. Looking at XXX JPY pairs on lower time frame, I remember you said at the last Webby or during the last week that shorts on them are a good idea. Yep, exactly. My problem is that we were bullish on them for a very long time. Well, welcome to what you just saw happen on NQ. That's all you're talking about is what we're just seeing happen on NQ. I don't care how long I've been bullish on something. I care about the market, right? I told you here, I told you all right here, this thing was going to either chop or fall off the earth. All we got was a beautiful move lower. That's all we got, as it should have happened. Nothing more. And yes, on the way down, again, these are opportunities. And if you're a lower time frame trader, you should be there for those opportunities. You should not be someone that just randomly gives them up, right? Because that's your EVC. I don't know why my chat died. It went all the way back up, so I have to scroll back down now. Here we go. Okay, good. My problem is that we were bullish on them for a long time. I have a clash in my head about your idea, and I don't know what to think about it. So either you learn and teach yourself to be able to change, to think quicker, to not let emotions come in the way, or you learn to be more patient and you trade the higher time frames. And you wait for your setups. That's it. As an example, there's absolutely nothing for me to do on UJ since this stage 1 right here. Since these stage 1s and the start of its delivery, there's been nothing for me to do on this whatsoever. Because that's what my system calls for. That's what my EVC calls for. If you have a problem with my EVC leading to patience during a time where you should be trading, then you have a problem with trading a lower time frame, right? That's really it. Now you say, is it bad that I have some doubts about it? And if so, how can I change my perspective or my mindset on that? Your mindset and perspective should be changed after you've seen the most recent, I think it's still recent, 2 portal videos. And you have to be aware of the advantages and the disadvantages associated with going higher or lower. And once you've made that aware to yourself, you need to follow your rules. NAS was brutal the last few weeks. So that's the thing, right? NAS has not been brutal. NAS has just been correcting as it should. NAS has been a normal move and continuously normal. But for anyone that doesn't understand what's going on here, this is a brutal market. You're correct, right? Because they're trading and treating this action here the same as they treated this action here. And if that's the case, it's going to be the most brutal thing in the world. Karar says, Anton, can you go over how you trail your stop loss? You mentioned you try to do it with structure. Can you go over how you go about that? Is it something you do with like black base structure, higher time frame spread the members, or something like red structure? All of them at once. Yep, that's basically it. So like if we go to my Google trade, I mean, it's better just that you study some of the trades that I have taken. But if you look at my Google trade from when I entered this thing, so I entered this thing through this stage 1 right here. So this stage 1 occurred, price began to move higher. Our buy stop through this MB. Broke even on this thing basically on the first candle, or just as it reached that high, I believe. And then from there, I'm looking to partial into some version of strength. I think my first partial was it up here or here? I don't remember. It was into some of this strength right here. And then from there, all I'm doing is I'm trying to manage into new strength while also protecting potential structural lows. So for instance, if you have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, I think I had some of it here, and the rest went up here after bullishness came in. So I'm gonna go to my daily now and I'll show you why. Yeah, so I managed with the huge strength because I just wanted to protect the overall strength of this candle. So again, it's a mixture of a few things put together, just based on what makes the most sense at the time. Partial into overall strength, try to trail some with either an MA, which is probably even easier, or with even more strength. This was insane strength. This started to extend on the validation. So snapback was likely. So on this move higher, or on this move higher here when it was green, I moved the rest, or actually no, not the rest. I moved a half partial of this strength below this, took that partial, and the rest I believe was down here. Yeah, my stop loss was at that candle. And then I got stopped out of the full position here for the last partial. And that was it. That was my entire Google position. So again, there's no one answer to the management, but if you need a simple way to manage, get in, partial after some strength, let the rest run with a moving average or with insane strength that you would never have expected. So what I mean by that is if price does something like this, start trailing with a low. If price does something like this, just gaps randomly, take a partial. If price does something like, so it's doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this, you know, this is not even enough. You just wait, you wait, starts going, there's just nothing to do, you wait, and then maybe you close at the 10. So those are all ways to do it. If you see unbelievable strength that you've never seen before, take a partial. This was crazy strength, so I took a partial. That's really it. TradingView can now replay all the charts. Yep. Yes, it can. It's very nice. It's very good stuff. Should they lose money even considering an EVC bullish? What do you mean by that, Roberto? A little bit confused there, my good man. If following a proper EVC, those times are good short opportunities as well in lower time frames. Yep, exactly. Late a bit. What's up, Evaldas? Good to see you, man. But does that necessarily mean that that applies to a lower time frame EVC? Roberto also confused by that. Alex says, hi man, I wanted to ask you, how do you protect yourself from the gaps on some stocks? I just recently got to 300 trades in my ICI system, and this week I started a forward test. I had to count a minus 22 in my sheet from the GBT trade on the 29th of July, a trade that followed all my rules. I'm trading on 15-minute if you can look into it. You just, I mean, you account for them. You partial into them. You don't trade a low enough time frame where it can affect you in such a big way. You don't trade into potential earnings. You exit earlier if you need to. You exit in pre or after if it's an insane gap, because you still can exit in pre or after. I mean, that's it. There's not much to it. I don't know where it is, but yeah, it'll happen. If you're in for a gap, it'll happen. Like that's really it. I don't know how you'd be in a gap though, because even if you entered in a 15-minute here, you're getting stopped out somewhere in here. Yeah, I don't know. You have to account for them. I've taken losses off gaps. If you trade a lower time frame as an entry, just partial before the close of a day. You have to. Like when I trade a 5-minute chart, as you know, and then a 1-minute entry, because this was one of my entries that I took. Where was it? Yeah. These, you know, I was closed out of all of these by the next day, easily. Otherwise, I would have been potentially dead, right? Because I've seen markets like this open up. Like here. you know, the next day or whatever. No, not a negative, but, you know, very low. Good to start to watch for strength on stocks now. Walmart looks good. I mean, you can start looking for strength, but I don't think I'd trade anything right now. I mean, yeah, this thing has been showing strength overall, but right now there's nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. I mean, yeah, it's up, right? It's higher than QQQ, the NASDAQ, but there's nothing here right now. Roberto says, you know, Ment, you are speaking exactly in the train of thought I wanted to ask my question. Let's say we have a momentarily bearish context in NQ, but that it's in a higher time frame. My question is, since a lower time frame EVC 1660, it's kind of disconnected from a higher time frame, even showing accumulation reaccumulation. Shouldn't we supposed to trade a bullish? Because that will mean, so there are two answers to your question. One is if you're looking for overall alignment, no, because it's not aligned. Two, if the EVC is showing bullishness, sure. If the EVC is showing bearishness, no. And the EVC for NQ, for the most part, has continued to show bearishness. That's really it. I didn't really understand so entirely what you're saying there, but that's all there is to it, right? NQ. Yeah. Cameron says, if you're only relying on what Anton is looking for to trade, even with way different EVCs, you're going to miss loads of opportunities. This isn't a signal group. I mean, yeah, that's true. Gotta say, TradingView's new feature is OP. Yeah, it's very nice. I'm glad they added it. It's pretty helpful. But yeah, it's cool. It's good stuff. It's good to have it all in one spot. Is gold an example of exactly this the past 2 weeks? Yeah, so I remember you asked that, and no, I don't think gold is a good example of exactly that. Because gold has actually remained above averages, surfed with averages, moved higher in stage 1s and 2s, continued to move higher in stage 1s and 2s, and now is still doing that, right? I'm still expecting this thing to keep moving long, because this is actually moving long, right? Hopefully this now goes sideways for a little bit, maybe has a day or two of down move, sideways, or even a bigger down move like that, and then starts to move higher, for sure. I would love to see this thing go to like 2,500, 2,600, something like that, 2,550. Because yeah, it's really nice. Beautiful flush out, very large. Yeah, we just need a little bit of time. Hopefully we get a bigger flush, or even some buildup now. Comes up, maybe falls off, whatever, plays around, and then comes up. Maybe an entry here or an entry up here. We'll see. Yeah, gold looks really nice. I actually like gold for longs. Showing up doesn't mean you're gonna make it, I guess. Yeah, showing up does not mean you're taking trades at all. Of course not. Kosh, how to use the screeners and the MAs? Is it discussed in Portal? So it's not discussed yet, of course, but it will be for sure. But if you want to know exactly how they're used and everything, then the easiest way to do that right now is to start working through webinars, especially like, you know, most recent 20, most recent 30, because you'll see me use it every single week, and it's the same thing over and over again. Stage 1s and 2s happening across MAs, lower time frame entries, screener overall lineup for that same thing. So can we conflate the EVC of a higher time frame and a lower time frame? I know that's exactly what you were speaking, but it applies personal to me for the last 2 weeks. Yep, you can do any version of an EVC that works for you. But again, Roberto, if you're using an EVC across the board like that, then there's been nothing to trade on NQ anyway. Because in this case, it already began to fail down. So there is no EVC to trade there. So this is one of those parts where it's like, if you're trying to use them all and you're using it all as a screener and you're just looking for everything to line up, this is right here is a very different market context than this right here. Alex says, for lower time frame traders, there's not only bullish last year, there's deep pullbacks. 1 day candle for me is 24 candles in my context time frame, but it's all relative. 1 day for you is a 5 minute for me, so I should look for the same conditions on a 5 minute that you see on your daily. Yep, which also means a lot quicker. Also, but ability to sit out during poor action. Because guess what? 5 minute is going to have almost more poor action because there's more e-liquid moments. Nameless says, I use an EVVC. Is anybody also using that? Yep. I've spoken about that a few times in the last few weeks, bro. After May through June, I haven't opened US 100 chart on my desk. No trade for me. Yep, that's all it takes. Sometimes, I look at it because, I want to know what's up with it. But yeah, it's just one of those markets where there's just nothing to do. I'll mark it up. I see it. I know what it wants to likely do. It looks like it wants to go sideways or down. But when there's a market doing this, you just have to walk away. Is it possible to go through how you look at volume meant? I don't. It's useless. Well, I don't look at it much. And it will not affect your profitability, really. I have to head out in like 5 minutes. It's my first webinar, but I had a quick question. How do I calculate the EVC timeframes? Yeah, I think someone showed you that. Weekend back testing. Let's see what you got going on here. 20 trades, very high win rate, positive average RR, even with a win rate of 30%. So yeah, this is crazy. It's a very good system. Yeah, get yourself an account with like a free competition account with Men Funding and start executing it. Make sure you're doing it. Start experiencing this system live. Start showing up and following your rules. Hi, man. Do you think you can make a video only focused on when to switch bias for the lower time frame traders that only trade 1 to 2 pairs? Yeah, when the video is done. It kind of exists, right? It's when the validation moves into bearishness, you have overall distribution, and the context agrees with it, and then you trade it, right? So if your entry is like a 1 minute, and you're looking at a 6 minute validation, then you're likely moving into bearishness when you have clean down moves on the bearish side, right? So like this would be a good example here, right? Where was it? Okay. So when prices are bearish and in distribution and the context time frame is in clear distribution, below MA is moving lower, then you are going to have a market condition for bearishness that should go down. Right? That's it. That's really it. And if it goes into bullishness, then you do it on the bullish side. Nothing more. YK, I know you want like this crazy thing, but you just do what I've done on the daily and the 65 minute on the lower time frame. Right? That's it. And then you wait for your entries. Over and over and over again. The transition is an accumulation becomes distribution. Distributions become redistributions. They start moving down. There are clear moves. There's clear momentum that signifies that the move wants to happen. Then you trade that move. Men, can you have a look at this? Okay. I mean, your break-even rate is the thing that's making you profitable in this scenario here, right? Win rate's very low. Average win is also very low. So your break-even is making you profitable. So make sure you have really good rules for break-even and you follow them. I mean, yeah. And what else is there, right? One are RTPs and no break-evens. All right, nice. I mean, this also is very profitable too. In this case, your win rate's making you profitable, right? Yeah, it looks fine. There's not much for me to offer there. Got to go. Thanks for the lesson. I'll see you, Betty. Good to have you here, man. Sapir says, every long trader has to lose it all. For it to go back to all-time highs again, it's a little messed up, but it's the way it is. It's not that messed up. I mean, people don't take the time to learn. people lose money. If you go and work on an oil rig and you don't have the qualifications to do so, and you lied your way through to work there, you are likely going to be very hurt. If you work as a scientist or as an engineer in a nuclear power facility, and you don't have the proper qualifications or the proper skill set, you'll probably be radiated. You'll probably go and make mistakes, and you'll probably lose your job. If you become a lawyer, and before becoming a lawyer, you don't study for the bar, you don't do the proper due diligence, you won't pass. And even if you do pass, but you're not good as a lawyer, another lawyer is going to win the case even when you might be correct. It's the way of the world. It's not a game of trading. Trading is the same thing. If you don't have the skill set and you haven't learned how to do it and you don't have the conviction behind what you're doing, you're simply going to be beat out by the lawyer that did the work, by the person that knows his nuclear terminology or whatever, right? That's it. It's literally how the world operates. There's nothing sad or bad about it. It's just you either have done the work before and you are qualified for the job that you are doing, or you haven't done the work, you're unqualified, but you think you're qualified. And I've spoken about it time and time again, and the only difference is that in every other place in the world, someone else looks at the thing and says, no, dude, get the fuck away from my business. You have no clue what you're doing. And the only difference is in trading, there's no dude looking at your thing going, dude, you're not ready. There's just you. And if you look in the mirror and say, I'm just gonna run it and hopefully I'll make some money. You're the surgeon trying to do surgery without any medical background. It's like, yeah, you can try, and it might work, but you'll never be hired. You'll never get a job as a surgeon, and it's likely going to end in disaster. And that's exactly what most traders end up doing. They go in before they're ready. They go in before their qualifications are met. They go in before their skill is met, and they'll lose money. And it will happen over and over and over again, because that's how people emotionally lead themselves, or people lead themselves emotionally. There's nothing sad about it. It's how the world operates. I mean, I'm sure if any of you guys own a business or are in a business, you know that you do your job better than the average person who would just step in and be like, let me take over. I want to do whose job instead. Any of you that do own a business, probably the exact same thing. You don't want unqualified people working for you. The only difference is you're the boss and the employee here. So you either make that choice for yourself on the charts or you lose trying, right? Apologies. Is VNC stage 1 and stage 2? No, VNC is validation and context timeframes. It's EVC. Hello, Ment. When would you have looked at NASA short side if your EVC was 5 minute, 30 minute, 5 hour? I don't know when it all lines up. 5 hour probably would have already been clear by around here-ish. 30 minute. 30 minutes started moving lower. Yeah, I'd probably start looking at price inside of here, maybe inside of here, but then you had 3 in a row. Then it kind of chopped around a little bit. Chopped around. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful move lower. In here probably. Likely in here. Beautiful move. Probably in here. Get chopped out probably. Then nothing. Probably nothing. Beautiful move lower, but nothing to do. Definitely in here. I'd start watching it. Probably take a break even, it looks like. Yeah. Beautiful move lower, but not much to do. Maybe start watching inside of this thing. Just depends on you as a person. Definitely watching it. Yeah, this is beautiful. Whatever happens here, this is phenomenal. Like this is just screaming, take me lower. Yeah, beautiful trades. Same thing here. These are all trades on lowers. These are all just normal stage 1, stage 1s. Beautiful. That's it. I'd follow these same rules that you see. Okay? And that would be from around a context here. And since then, the context has retained, I believe. Yeah, beautiful context. Got a little, yeah, it was actually fine. Normal pullback. beautiful context, fine context, huge pullback, probably nothing to do, and then boom, this is where those trades were in clear, good context on lower side, below averages. Still looks good. Bearish is still intact. Move is still looking like it wants to do a very clear thing, which is go lower. What do you think of gold on 1 minute, 5 minute, 1 hour on Friday? I don't know. Did you trade it? Looks like it probably had a good context. On Friday. Okay. Was this Friday? No, but this was really nice right here. Then yeah, you had like maybe some kind of move inside of this thing. Whoops. Inside of here. Moved higher. Probably some move inside of here. Moved higher, and then went to shit. And then there's nothing, 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 and nothing, nothing, nothing. Yeah, so these were some of the opportunities right here. That's it. Maybe this one here as your only like really tradable opportunity. And you can go inside and study it. Yeah. I think gold had setups on lowers as well, yeah, of course. You mentioned some kind of backtesting tool in TradingView earlier. It's in front of you, man. Can you show more examples of the fast ICI trades? Will you use them? The ones where you manage very fast and the move proves itself. I don't really use them, no. But for the most part, it's like... It's kind of like this. This is a good example of it. A decent one. Price comes out of that accumulation, meets whatever accumulation rules, reaccumulation. You can even see the structure reaccumulation. The moves were here, but if you didn't take them, then you have very quick ICI ones here, and then you break even basically on this candle. Again, same thing. You just do it on a much quicker basis. So you have to be ready for much more chop, much quicker management. Wanted to ask, is this the right trade before what you took in your back test? I don't like it. I don't know where it was here, but it doesn't look that clear. Just, and maybe it's okay. Like if you took it, it's okay. Probably gonna break even on it on this candle. So either way works, but no, in my back test, this is the one I saw. That was clear to me. Yeah. Why do I feel like I miss on a lot of info after the Webby? What you mean, my good man? I have 2 more vids to finish Portal. I'm going to start with Webby 100. Good, Akash. You're chilling, man. You're going to be fun. There was one 1-hour trade on Sunday, 28th, but nothing after that. How do you run 2 charts on FX Replay? By going here and pressing all charts. Yeah, totally different picture. Agreed. I respect the shorts there more than any long. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just you need to have an understanding of where you are in the trend. You cannot just randomly follow like kind of blindly. Like it doesn't matter how long you've been bullish on this thing. When this thing turns around, you need to be there. You need to be there to trade it, or you need to walk away and be patient until the next move. Begging for price to go up instantly boosts your EV by 30%. Yep. Yup. Can you talk more about shifting your EVC bias? Why is the validation time frame more important? Oh, yeah, we spoke about that. This is honestly crazy advice. I just thought of a new system I could start experimenting with. Good. How do trends establish? Yeah, stage 1s and 2s is a good answer. John says, this discussion came at a good time because I've been grappling with this exact concept for a while. Right now, I wait for complete alignment, including hires, the 1 minute to the daily, which means sitting out of market corrections. But down the line, maybe I'll consider focusing more closely on my EVC, 1 hour and below. Yep. Good. Trying to take quick wins on lowers. Bitcoin, following it short. Oh, nice. You're following it short? Sure. Lines up. How long has it been since I kicked? Yeah, that was a little too much, you know? Can you say something about the average size you want a stage 1 to be on your entry time frame? I have a prop system and I have a mental image of the average size. It's not so much the average size, it's the move. Sometimes a stage 1 is enough just based on a move like this because of what the story of that move is. Sometimes it's not enough until it becomes a little bit larger. So I don't have a size preferential. Usually from that size to that size on average. But there's no perfect there, man. You know it ain't like that. The portal plus the screener plus the hard work equals wow. There you go. Thomas says, for example, the 5 minute entry, do you check or is it useful to check MBs also on lower time frames like the 1 minute? If I'm entering on a 5 minute, I'm not looking at the MBs of a 1 minute. Jordan says, how long do you usually wait to enter trade within a trend? As long as I need to wait. But if you mean how long do I wait between trades in a good market, this is your example right here. But you can go to any of the stuff I have traded, like NVIDIA. This is something that I traded that was really, really good. And this was the original trade in here. And then there was nothing to do. Maybe there was another trade here. So that took about, again, you can go and do this on your own charts, man. 30 days, so in a good market, about 30 days until another setup. Then this one would have just gapped, so nothing to do. Since that setup, there's maybe another 52 days until the next setup that would have failed. So the failure doesn't matter. Until the next setup, there was probably around 106 days. So probably half a year since the original good setup till the next good setup. And I traded this one. I bought it here. I remember this. Yep. And then I managed this thing higher. And then I actually took most of it off around here, like an idiot. Right around here. I took most of it off. And then there was nothing since then. So that's really it. And then on markets that aren't good at all, well, the story's even, I mean, I don't even know. I can't think of a name right now that hasn't been doing anything because I don't look at those markets. But on a market that doesn't do anything, then it's much longer. It could be 6 years between a setup. Sarah says, thanks, boss. I'm having a great Sunday. I start every Sunday with these wubbies. Hey, I appreciate you, man. Good. When we are going to get the portal certificate, I want to put it on my CV and going to apply for a job at a hedge fund when it's done. Where can I find the Mint data collection? In the hashtag data collection, yeah. Every WebBA gets clearer, thank you. Good. I'm still struggling trying to make break-even terms for myself that work for me. Can you show me some variations if there's time? Structurally, makes a new higher high. You can break even. Structurally double. You can now move to break even. Huge strength. You can now move to break even. Strength after the huge strength. You can now move to break even. Strength after strength, maybe after another strength, you can move to break even. Strength after one mini pullback, then strength, or move through any FMB, you can move to break even. A moving average catches up with where you entered, you can move to break even. Anything, dude. Anything. Don't complicate it. Look at your trades, look at ones that make moves, and ask yourself what would have kept you in it. Akash says, can I please get your thoughts on SMC? Oh gosh. As I have been using it for a long period of time and my pace is real slow, with most months barely break even. Yep. Forget everything you've learned. Focus on what's here. Try not to let that into your realm of thought because it's only going to affect you poorly. You have likely learned a very poor version of it where your ability to follow trends is close to non-existent. And a lot of the time you are stuck picking tops and bottoms and getting caught in chop as a result. So one of the best things you can do right now is recognize that's part of your past, which means that you can now improve from it and then focus on improving. There's really no such thing as SMC if you want to really think about it that way. The reality is the true smart money or composite operator money, big money, which is what you said you went through 80% of the course, so you understand there's a composite operator. The reality is we get positioned behind big orders, big institutional orders, big moves. And the way to do that is not through looking for random equal highs and equal lows or random zones. It's actually through understanding the story of price delivery. So yeah, stop following stuff that's useless is what it comes down to. Or if you want to follow it, just don't be here asking me about that, right? Is really what it comes down to. Like, I have nothing to do with that stuff. Hey man, I've been trying to test when there becomes too much price to continue looking for a surf on the validation timeframe. So I have an idea to quit looking in an area. That is if price doesn't fall off but goes sideways. Thoughts? To quit looking. Okay, I mean, you're fine. You can have rules to stop looking. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, man. Alan says, hey, Anton, first of all, I'm grateful for your work. I appreciate you, man. You are the reason I'm in the trading space. A few days ago, I found out from a friend of mine who joined the community recently that Romania is no longer available for evaluation. I don't control the countries within which the services are available in, okay? And also, this is prop firm related question, which is not to do with the mentorship, because the mentorship has no stopping in regards to where you're from in the world. So that's all, man. Hey guys, how do I get the premium indicator back? Just DM the bot. So the daily sentiment is long on NAS. I see that as a confluence that has to be there on every trade. Would I have to change this? No, you would just, if that's, okay. Okay, so Easton, if your rule for taking trades on this thing, and based on what you've tested, which is hopefully, which is why you have this rule, is that if the sentiment is bullish, you'll look for bullishness. Okay, great. Now, if the sentiment's bullish, and it's not bullish here, should you be looking for trades? Okay. You said on a lower time frame, yes. Why? That makes no sense. You just told me your sentiment is what you use to decide if you should trade. And if it's showing you bullishness, but the market is bearish, then why are you looking for trades? So in that case, you're not using the sentiment. So don't ask about this. Then don't use the sentiment, right? That's one of the things. Screener and context too. Okay. So what is the question, right? So you said the daily sentiment is long on NAS. Okay. You see that as a confluence that has to be there on every trade. So you said you see that as something that has to be there. Okay, sure. But then you asked me if you have to change this because now it's not aligning. I'm that confused, right? So that the way you frame this is very confusing. I don't know if you see what you did here, but you said that you have a rule, and clearly you made that rule because it's a confluence that you have and it has to be there. But now that it's not there and price is delivering in the opposite direction, you're asking if you should change that. This does not sound like a rule then, right? It just sounds like something that you just choose whether you use or don't use. So I'm just a little confused by that, right? Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm happy to help and like answer whatever you're trying to get at here, but that made very little sense to me. If you if you're using that as a confluence to be there for every trade and it's not there, you simply don't trade. You be patient. One of the main things I spoke about today is that if your rules get you into markets like this one and the rules are no longer met, then you need to wait for a market like this one. But instead of doing that, the second you have to be patient, which is right now, the second it requires you to be patient, the number one question you ask me is, should I trade my rules so I can be less patient? Is basically what you just asked me. And to me, that makes very little sense, right? That just sounds to me like you're fishing for entries because you're sad you're not getting entries, right? That's all that sounds like to me. What V did you use back when you traded a 15-minute E? Multiplied by 6. The markets are a battleground. Yeah. Akash says, one doubt in EVC. Why do we particularly say V equals E times 6 and C equals V times 10? Why particularly these numbers? Because they are closely aligned in a way that allows you to measure the orders coming into the market in a clear way, and then as a result, trade the ones that are clear. What do you use the trigger candle for? I don't. Meant, what do you use the session candle for? For backtesting so I know when the next day starts. This just means it's the last candle of the day. So it's easier in backtesting. Because I don't have to look at the time. Are you experimenting volume to be a confluence for a stage 1 expansion? No. John says, in the bearish 5:35 hour, now's example from earlier, can you talk about what makes a context time from clear for shorts? In that green circle you drew. To me, it's still in a bullish model because it is under the lower sloping moving averages and on the downside of them. That's it. I told you the most important one is V, and it's closely linked to E. The C is stage 1s and 2s. Was this. In my backtest, I took like 20 trades in a row that were break-evens or -1s. Is that normal? Does this look normal? I mean, what looks abnormal about this? This looks like a little bit different from what happened here. Right, so, yep. I see nothing wrong with it at all. Maybe just a bad day. No, this is trading. This is what trading looks like. For all I know, for all I can expect, for all I can potentially see happening, I could go on a very normal, here, we'll go like this. Basic loss streak, or basic break-even loss streak. Nothing about this would bother me in any way. Literally nothing. I could do it for another... Whoops. What'd I do? Oh, this is someone else's. Whoops. I could do it for another 20 trades, 40 trades. None of this would bother me. Like, it's not going to do this, likely, because the distribution of wins and losses is going to be very different just based on percentages. But nothing about this would bother me. Okay. Got to go. Take care, G. Take care as well, man. I'll see you. Don't know if you answered. I had to go AFK for a second. Do you think the flush on NQ will be longer than the 2022 flush or shorter? That is what I call an extremely terrible question. Not to come at you, but that is a terrible question. A terrible way to frame the approach to markets. That is where close to everybody loses money, right? There's no such thing as do you think it's going to be longer and how long is it going to be? There's just what's price telling you. And right now, price is telling you it wants to go lower. If it wants to now go sideways and accumulate and then come up, then it's going to be over there. If it doesn't, then it's going to be over much later. If it keeps going into clear stage 1s and 2s to the downside, it could be over after a year and do it for a year on the downside. There's no such thing as, hey, just tell me how long it's going to last and then I'll start trading it again. It's a very bad way to think. Very bad way to think. Look at the price action. Look at what the market's telling you. Right? On a lower time frame, yes. Higher, no. No, that's one of the things. Sentiment is there to help you. Don't rely on it. I mean, you can rely on it if it's a rule, but you can't just say it's a rule and then say, should I change it? That makes no sense, right? Does the rule make sense? Well, you made it a rule, right? So if you made the rule, why'd you make it in the first place? But yeah, the rule can make sense, sure. It's going to help you pinpoint trends and make sure that you're in trends that are actually happening, right? That's all. It means you're going to miss some moves, maybe a lot of moves, but at least when it's all lined up, you're going to get trends. I'm trying to figure out if the rules make sense. Well, what have you seen in general when you're looking at a 60% plus, 70% plus sentiment on a market? What have you seen? Have you seen that market continue to deliver? Have you seen those markets be nice markets for you to start watching and trading? Are you finding that you're coming way too late? Are you coming at a good time? Does it make sense to you? Right? These are very important things to ask yourself. I've been new, so I get it, but that question sent me. Yeah, it can happen. Vasant says, how can we find good context stocks other than US stocks, like some TradingView or any other screener? Yeah, you can use other screeners. We'll have them added to the screener when possible, because there's a lot of things we got to do there. Or you can look up the names and just go through them one by one and make sure there's alignment, right, between your EVCs. Susan says, the more I'm backtesting, the more refinement is coming out of my head, and everyday charts are starting to look cleaner to me. Yeah, that'll happen. Of course, it will happen. Alrighty. Can you trade ETFs outside of market hours? Yeah, I believe they have a pre and an after market, but you can only use limit orders on them. Easton says, yeah, I have. I'm trying to figure out if I can switch bias without looking at the daily sentiment. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, of course. Of course, man. I mean, I think that anyone on lower time frames that is trading lower time frames should never have been trading this thing long this week, right? Unless something lined up on the 1 minute. But I also think that if they had rules regarding the overall higher time frames, then they wouldn't touch it. And if they didn't, then yeah, they'd be trading it short. So that's really it there. That is really it there. J Rose traded NQ long. Okay, and she can do whatever she wants. she's her own person, right? She's her own trader. And if she's making money, she's making money. It's not always good to like worry about someone else's trades. It's very good to worry about your own, right? If something makes sense to you, then you should focus on the stuff that works for you. It's your system. It's not hers. It's not, no one holds anyone to any level, especially if that person doesn't need help. What I'm trying to say is she doesn't respect laws of physics. Yeah, I mean, some trades I would never take that she takes, right? And I don't really care about that. Others line up very well. A lot of the shorts that she took this week that I saw lined up very well, very cleanly. And those made sense to me. So those are the ones that I'd also trade or that I'd also catch. And all that matters is that I know which ones I would want to be in because those would make me money. You need to worry less about the individual person taking a specific trade. It's very, very likely not going to help you, right? Very good to focus on the rules that you understand, the overall concepts that you understand, and use them in tandem with what's actually happening with the market. Right? Here we are. Beautiful. Oh yeah, this would be so nice. So yeah, I mean, I was really excited about cryptos, right? You guys know this. I was so excited about them. I was watching this thing for a trade. I mean, it's still showing strength, but it's dying off now. You know, I was really looking at this thing. I was waiting for it. I thought it was going to be super clean. I thought it was going to set something up. I thought it was going to be a phenomenal entry to take long. But this thing just randomly failed with Bitcoin and cryptos and all that, and the overall market. Right, everything just started coming down. Isn't that a low anticipation? MSTR. What are you talking about? On a entry time frame? I mean, yeah, maybe, but there's nothing here. I don't care about the entry time frame when this is not even like lining up. Like all you can maybe make an argument for is this, maybe like this FMB, if it pops back up right now. But again, you're looking at overall bearishness on this, right? Everything's gapping down and this is moving down with it. So there's not much to do right now except wait. This thing went into a bearish move. It's probably now going to go sideways, have this catch up, this point down, and then from here it might decide to accumulate and maybe start making moves. Or the likelihood is that this range will be supported through this bearishness, and then you're going to get the drop off, because that's what most things are pointing to right now. And all the people that are holding on to their dear lives with longs here, their longs here, their longs down here are going to get wiped out, right? Unless they're positional and much longer term. But yeah, I mean, everything looks like it's just in a stage 1, 2 to the downside right now. Right? I mean, it's been super boring for me. It's been a lot of sitting back and waiting. Like, there's just, everything's in a shithole. I even considered a short on, I think on this thing. What was it? Or on Google. Yeah. I was watching this for a short. Something around here. In this stage 1 on the downside. What was the 65 minute up to? Yeah, I was in distribution. Yeah, I was considering a short here. I just didn't like the gap, so I skipped it. And then I missed the trade inside of here. Like, this was a fine MB sell setup. But I just didn't take it. What broker do you use, Matt? Schwab. I talk about it every single week. Write it down once. Use Charles Schwab, regulated US broker. Does that make sense? It might. What is the screener saying about it? GBP CAD. Overall bullish, daily, hourly's in distribution, but that could be okay because you have quite a bit of alignment on the bullish side. Okay, let's go look at it. Came down. It looks like the entries probably were, this was a beautiful, beautiful move down. Probably entries were on this day here or around, but it can still set up for something else later this week for sure. Oh yeah, this was much harder to trade. Yeah, I mean, it just came down, came up. I don't see an entry on this at all right now, but accumulation comes in, fails down, flushes out, MB, MB, go. Yep. Could be fine. Needs time though. Yep, and last week we were here. If you remember, last week we were here and I said it needs a week, it needs time to build this up, and that's exactly what it's doing now. Needs a lot of time to build this up. Not ready yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe another week for an entry on this. Maybe less, just depends on how this wants to deliver. Might make some more moves down and then create something nice out of there. 15-minute entries. Does XXXJPY make sense to short? Let's see. Short seem to be good. Everything around the 15 minutes seems to be correct. The higher end of the 15 minute would be what? Times 6 is 2 hours, 20 hours. So generally, yeah. Okay. 15-minute puts us at what validation? Like a hour, 2 hour? 1 hour, 2 hour? Yeah. You should have been in on this. Because these were the lower time frame entries over and over and over again. You should have been in on these, definitely on this. If you're not in this, I don't know why you're showing up to it down here. Now it needs time. This is now in the same bias as this was up here. This is where UJ is right now. On the downside. This is what UJ looks like. The entries were here. That's all. Don't show up late to entries. So 15-minute entries do not make sense now. They made sense right here. And back here. And maybe somewhere in here. But might have gotten chopped up a little bit here. Sosa says, the question I always wanted to ask me, but I was a little bit shy of asking him, is he going to show his kids how to trade, or he's going to tell them to watch the webinars? They'll probably just see it, or kid, see it growing up. So it's a different kind of experience. 15-minute entries. Does XXXJPY make sense for shorts? It made sense for shorts. I don't know why you're so late to it. The entries have happened. Yep, absolutely nothing anymore. I mean, like, where were you? Here, 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 and here. Like, what is this, right? You can take a look at that on the context time frame. This has been so clean. All of this since this point here was basically fine on context. Now it's extended on context. Like, this doesn't usually happen, and we don't talk about much about extension on context, but this is what a true extension on context can look like. Maybe you get one more move out of it. You know, my first question to you is why, I've spoken about this for so many weeks now, but why are you showing up to this thing here for an entry when you had this action and this action? How are you so late to this? This just makes it seem like, again, you were keyed into bullish, still keyed into bullish, after it started proving bearish, still keyed into bullish for no reason, and then here, this is where you're saying, like, think about what you're asking right now, right? Here's the your context, or 10 hour, right? 10 hour? 10 hour. This is what you just did. Where's the arrow key? This makes very little sense to me. Kind of look at it from a visual point of view. Where were you? Where were you in all of this? And how is this the entry now? Right, this should put it all into perspective for you personally, I think. You said, I was on vacation, no excuses. Well, then don't ask about if this is bearish now, because that's a little wild, no? It's okay to be on vacation and miss those for that reason, if you weren't able to watch them. But to then show up and say, hey, is my 15-minute potential entries is, I mean, look at where you are. Do the replay mode that I just taught you to do. Go back, go into it. Where were my entries? How could have I traded this? If I was trading this, what were the entries I would take? What is it doing now? Why would I ignore it? When would I start watching it? I watch it for entries. Would I get an entry? Yeah, now I'm managing that entry and it's going well. What part of now managing the entry and it going well tells you I should now take it? Doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I don't see it. Short 1-minute entry CAD JPY after reset. Maybe. Probably not at market open, but yeah, maybe. What's CAD JPY doing? It's probably bearish like everything else, right? 1 minute, 6 minutes, 60 minute, 1 hour. Yeah, this is in a very bearish context. Looks good. Very weak pushes, but If anything, entries were here. Here. This is late. You're late again. Same problem. Same day, same issue. You wait for the move to happen for some reason. You don't have the system worked out. You don't have the conviction in the system. You need to be fast, but you're not. You don't have time to consider your emotions. So you are letting the move play out, and then you're asking yourself, hey, this is actually pretty good. Should I take it? No. The move was earlier. The move was earlier. This is late. And I wouldn't trade into market open or close as well. So yeah. Sorry, that was inverted, by the way, for everyone that's watching or skip to it. USD CAD became clear on the higher time frame. Daily, hourly. Yeah, you have general alignment. That looked good. Yeah, this is like kind of that Bitcoin moment where you might have been watching in here for some kind of trade. Much harder. I don't like this trade at all, really. It's just like kind of one candle, catches itself on the 10. Harder to do. I think it needs time. If there is going to be a setup here, it needs to build a stage 1. Some kind of stage 1. That does not exist at the moment. Hopefully it moved down to maybe like this 20 to catch up. This comes down. And then out we go, or we build something longer term. And then you get like kind of a stage 1 to trade higher. But let's see the 65. Or the 60, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, beautiful moves higher, flushes out. Yeah, I mean, listen, if you traded this thing here through this MB, or somehow got into this MB right here, which is harder to do because these are off the lows, then good. Now you're in a waiting game again. But if you're in on one of these trades, like through this price or something, you should be at break even and chilling. If you got in here, you got stopped out at break even. And now this either goes or it goes into break even and continues to build up a move. USD CAD for 5-minute entry. Maybe. Yeah, it wasn't bad actually. It got a little bit choppy. Came up, started going sideways, moved higher, started moving sideways, came down impulsively, took off, coming on the rising 10. Kind of put in this little range here. A little bit of a complex one. Take a look at the 5. It did flush out and maybe make a move here for an MB. Right here. That one was all right. Hopefully now, I would say it needs time. Like if it can come down, maybe flush out or go up, flush out heavily, build something up, give you an entry, then sure. Yeah. Then it can be good. Right now though, no. Not at all. Use the rules. Ment, have you noticed since the weakness of Japanese yen, UJ has been moving in tandem with NQ? That doesn't really bother me. If they're related, then that's great. But like, what, NQ? I'll just throw on UJ with it. Okay. Yeah, sure. And I guess they kind of move together. Okay. Nice. I don't know what we're gonna do with that, but that's interesting. I'm very close to finishing your course, but I'm still fairly new to trading, probably about 3 months, maybe a little bit more. But I was in a Signal group, so I wasn't really learning anything until I joined this group about 1.5 weeks ago. Once I finish the master course, what should I begin watching or learning more? The webinars. The webinars for sure is the answer. So you think it's okay to look for shorts in here? My man, I just went over this price action. I showed you all the areas. Come on, Sosa. I mean, I literally made them green. So we should focus on the screen to the time frames around our entry, all right? The screen around the time frames that you enter. Yep. Can we look at Colgate stock? Curious if you'd skip August 1st. Yep. And earnings, yeah, I'd skip it. There's nothing to do here. Mr. Ment, could you make your structure lines a bit brighter when walking through context? It's a bit harder to follow due to how pale the lines are. Well, I very faintly use them because, again, like they're only there for understanding if you're in a general reaccumulation or meeting like anticipation of the higher lower rules. Like again, when I see this, I know it's a reaccumulation. Right? I don't need the lines to show me that, even though the lines are in a different spot. As you can see. They're in a little bit of a different spot, but that's all they're doing. So my main focus is the actual stage 1s and 2s of the move. Sorry, I think I missed it, but what did you say the green candles are for? They're just sessions. Just easier to see it that way. Damn, I thought you'd be proud. Was this Colgate? You entered after earnings and you entered on a, what, lower time frame here, 30-minute? I mean, yeah, there might have been a trade in here, like off of this thing. That's where you kind of entered. It's okay. I don't really like it that much, but yeah, it's not bad. Good for you if you get to take this up. I mean, when I look at this, I just see that, you know, I don't see a move that's going to do something like this, right? Which is what I want to be in, right? I see this as something that's now going to do something like that, probably. But hey, you never know. The whole market could just turn around randomly and everything could start going higher. But yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. Get it off the 30-minute. Yeah, I mean, it looks good on the 30-minute. Don't get me wrong. This MB is really nice. This one's harder to trade. I probably would skip this. But this one's really good. If you got in at this one, where'd you get in? Oh, you got off that, yeah? Yeah, you did. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, it's a clear setup. It's a good setup. I would have probably just skipped it because of market weakness overall. But I'm not against it. Looks good. Congrats, bro. It's a good trade. Not against it. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. If you... Yeah, it's just terrible. No. Unless you got in down here, then good for you, but this was a good trade. In here was really good. In here. Those are really, really good. If you got in during this time somehow... Oh, but it was earnings on this day here. So yeah, there's... If you got in on this one then, because that's the only one that was a little bit before earnings, then good. Otherwise, everything else with this is terrible. This looks like you're going to be caught in a lot of chop because you're entering like very late, it seems. Will the portal material eventually cover the... Yes. Yes, it will. Yeah, Schelling said it himself. This is overextension for me. Like, I don't see any entry here. When this is happening, all I'm envisioning is that prices hopefully want to make 2 more candles down, minimum, maybe build a mini range first and then start a move, or build a longer term range later and then make a move higher. And then you're using that moment to actually trade this on a higher. I don't think that's good. I mean, here, again, you're very lucky if you got in on this, right? And if you're managed, but even then, again, that's the likely next move, right? Because what I see here, right, what you're entering here, if you look at this, is not an early stage 1 or anything like that, because that happened here. So it's already a later stage 1 within the stage 1, stage 2 delivery. So you're basically entering, what does this look like? This looks like USD CAD entered. No, not USD CAD. What's the other one? GBP CAD? Yes. It looks like you just entered a trade like, honestly, not even here. Like, this even had time. So not even here. You basically entered like this as a long right here. And you're like, okay, I got this. Right? This is hard. For me, I see that happening. Right? And then building up a longer term move. Probably even longer term now. Start surfing this higher and then build something later here. So I don't like that one at all. John, do you sometimes trade the quicker mini ranges on your validation time frame? It depends on where they're happening, man. Same thing as always. It depends on where it's happening. This is happening late. This one was very clean early, but it was not clear enough for me on my entry, so I didn't take it. This one was okay because it was early. Go study prices. This one was really good because it was early. It came out of this beautiful stage one, went higher, and then created a short-term one. This is a great trade. And then even then, it still became a longer-term stage one. So unless you got in on this here, which could have been the case, you could have definitely done that, then you'd be stop break even, and then you'd get this trade. That would have gone. Thoughts on oil? Looks like general disconnection, but probably some kind of bearishness. This was back then. Oh yeah, I even wrote it. Yeah, it's in distribution. Beautiful distribution. Lower time frames would have been great shorts. This is now surfing these lower and will continue moving lower now. To like 70, 69, something like that. Interesting, some of those early ones look like they're still in the middle of prior chop without a large move beforehand. What do you mean? I guess we see it differently. All good, yeah, we can maybe, but this right here is a clear move up for me. Some of the other assets were kind of, no, this is a very clear move. Very clear move. Then goes into a stage one. From the stage one, moves higher beyond the stage one into a mini stage two, into its first mini stage one. That still becomes a larger stage one. I don't know where you don't see the big move here. This looks big to me, personally. But again, you don't have to trade those moments, right? Because there's not going to be 100% alignment always between my trades and your trades and someone else's trades. US Oil, he says, this is my last trade on oil. When was the 31st? Interesting. Trade on 15-minute trade, so 2-hour, 20-hour on the 30th. Was it even good at that time? On the 30th? Somewhere around here. Wait, where the fuck? Up here? I don't even know where it is. Oh, inverted. He traded this. I see this right here. A little choppy, makes this nice move, kind of moves sideways. Yeah, it's all right. It's not terrible. So it's probably break even, right? Yeah, in beautiful distribution. Yeah, and you traded around here. Yeah, this looks like UJ. All right, looks good where you traded it. And you did get a break even. Yeah, that's good. Not against it. Feels a bit late. No, I think it's fine. was somewhat bullish on a context, rolled over into bearishness here. This is where you would have started watching it on a lower time frame, but again, that doesn't mean there was a setup. Well, there were actually a few setups. This was nice. This was a little bit. This was actually pretty nice across the top here. Looks good. This one was choppy. Then it got really choppy. Very choppy, like move here, but did go. And then this one. Yeah, I mean it might be a little late, but it had its stage one here. Then it built this. It's not bad. It could have definitely went for a little catapult down. It could have done this here, but it didn't. So nothing wrong with that, man. Perfectly fine. But yeah, this was traded this thing bullish here. I wonder if it was actually like a good setup. What was it at the time? Yeah, I remember I was looking at this. Okay. Oh yeah, and then we did have a nice move. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I was looking at this all as bullish, if you remember, and then all of a sudden, it became distribution. And then boom, just like that. One break even into failure of trend into full distribution. And the weekly. Yeah, and the weekly just rolled back over into being bearish. Yeah, so oil's rolled over into being overall bearish for sure. Took a while too. You know, I was bullish inside of this leg, then I was bullish inside of here. And then I got bullish into it here again. And now it's rolled into bearishness. So now we are looking at what, like mini pause into new lows, probably. Yeah, would be cool. Would be nice. B saves money, happy me. Yeah, I mean it was a fine trade. Again, like it depends a little on your rules here in terms of, you know, how okay you are with it. Maybe on the hourly it looked a little cleaner. No, it definitely did not look clean on the hourly. Definitely looked ugly as shit on the hourly. Yeah, maybe this week you get a trade out of this thing. Could definitely start setting some stuff up on a lower time frame. Like, what's our 5 minute up to here? Let's see. I'm just flipping this. My eyes cannot handle it. Yeah, I mean, it's in a beautiful accumulation right now in terms of being flipped. Anticipation of the higher low is pretty much already met. Yeah, it is met. And yeah, I mean, if this can start coming up beautifully out of this, maybe set up a little trade here. I could see that working out. I know there's oil futures, right? Futures or something. Yeah, somewhere. I don't know where they are. Yeah, man, looks good. Congrats on the mini break even. It's perfectly fine to do that. What do you say here? Ghost says, okay, I'm gonna finish these questions off and I'm gonna wrap this guy up, okay? Do you wait to see price breaking out of that tighter wedge? What wedge? What is wedge? Do you wait for it to break out of a tighter wedge on validation time frame before moving to entry time frame, or do you wait for an MB validation? Or do you just go to entry time frame immediately as you see that stage one forming as a few candles inside the wedge? Are you talking about like a line? Is that wedge? That's funny. I go when it's clear. I go lower and then look at the action. I don't need it to come out. But usually the best setups are just as it's coming out of the stage one. Thoughts on USD MXN? What are your thoughts on USD MXN? You're late to the party. You're very late to the party. There's nothing to do here. It's bullish. If you got positioned, good. If you didn't, you're not. There's nothing to do. You're very, very late to the party. You showed up 5 years too late. Yeah. But it's bullish on the bright side. AU. Nothing to do, probably, in less than a second. Yep. Don't know what we're doing here. No more questions, screener enough. Why don't you look at the screener then, brother? Yeah, this is ugly. It's just in chop. It's in pure chop. I mean, it has this move down, and it had this tiny little surfer guy here, and it maybe had a setup in here. But now there's nothing to do here. 30-minute context is this late. That is not how I think. If this is context time frame, it doesn't look like it. I mean, it might be. I don't know. What's the validation telling you? What is the entry telling you? My man, you know the rules. There's a 3-step rule every single time. There's not just one time frame that decides it all. You know this. Come on, my man. Context time frame is it late? I don't know. It might be. I have nothing here. I don't have a name. I don't have a date. I just have this. So maybe is the answer, my man. Because yeah, I don't know what you're asking here. Odd NZD. Are you asking about it like as a market, or are you just saying it? Like, did you look at it here too? Gold on 411. Here. No time frames. No nothing. So you know how we ask things, right? Give me a date, give me the EVC, give me the time frames. Like, what am I looking at? 5 minutes. So now this is a validation time frame. I mean, yeah, it looks fine. I don't see anything wrong with it. So you're asking if the context was extended here? No, not at all. I thought you were asking about it up here. Even then, the answer is no, but no, it's not extended. Not at all, dude. Odd NZD. All right, so overall it had a little bit of on the hires, at least. It was not super clear in the screener, right? So overall, potentially bearish, a little bit of bullishness. Okay, so overall, potentially bearish. Yeah, nothing to do. That's all. I don't know what time frames you're trading, but there's absolutely nothing to do here. Went from that bullishness into distribution, fall off. Now it doesn't get caught, and it's just down here now. So that's it for odd NZD, right? Okay, 15-minute. This was really good. This was okay. Yeah, might need a little bit of time, but yeah, it's setting something up here. Could be okay. Yeah, beautiful trade inside of this. Absolutely beautiful. This was end of market, so nothing to do there. Yeah, I mean, if it can come up, start going sideways a little bit, there could be a move out of this. Sure. I don't see why not. Yeah, moving higher in a stage 1 for sure. Yep, it could set up, bro. And keep an eye on it on your entry time frame. Looks good for shorts. Shelling says overextension is when price goes way too high above most models on your EVC and multiple times. Yep, and multiple times. Not just a push. Like when you have a context time frame of what, a 5 hour was it? And not only has it made a push, but a push and an extension push, and then an extension push plus without really pausing another extension push beyond all MAs, that's likely extension. Everything else was not. That is why you have to be very careful with trying to look for extensions on context. But you know, if you can kind of pinpoint some of the entries that were valid and might have been taken, then you need to start understanding that beyond that point, because of the entries made available already and because of the move continuing, that this could likely be extended now. But that's only because of what you had happen prior, right? All right, looks like some people are shuffling on out of here, so I'm probably gonna wrap this up in just a second here. But yeah. But yeah. I think we're good. Just thinking about what I wanted to cover. Trade talk. What happened in trade talk? It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure, man. Happy to have you here. Can use them as reversals. I'll have to talk to him in there. All right, guys, listen. Thank you all so much for being in here, for tuning in. Always appreciate you guys taking the time out of your days to be here and chat and whatnot. So I'll see you all later. All right, goodbye, boys. Thank you.